The cave smelled of animal pelts, gunpowder, and something darker that Lily Brennan could not quite name as she stumbled through the narrow opening. Her hands scraped raw from climbing the rocky mountainside in desperate flight from the men who had murdered her family 3 days prior. She had run until her feet bled through her worn leather boots, run until the scorching June sun of 1872 had baked her throat dry as old parchment, run until she could no longer remember what it felt like to feel safe. The cave promised shelter from the relentless California heat and the outlaws tracking her through the Sierra Nevada foothills. But as her eyes adjusted to the darkness, she realized with growing dread that she was not alone. A massive figure sat against the far wall, so still he might have been carved from the stone itself. His shoulders were broad enough to fill a doorway, his arms thick with corded muscle that spoke of years spent surviving in these unforgiving mountains. Long dark hair fell past his shoulders, tangled and unkempt, framing a face that might have been handsome beneath the full beard and the gauntness of extended isolation. But it was his eyes that made Lily's breath catch in her throat, not with fear but with a piercing sadness she felt echo in her own ravaged heart. Those eyes, pale gray like winter smoke, stared straight ahead at nothing at all. They did not track her movement as she pressed herself against the cave wall. They did not blink when she gasped. They simply stared, vacant and unseeing, into the perpetual darkness that had become his world. "I know you are there," he said, his voice rough from disuse, deep as thunder rolling across distant peaks. "I can hear your breathing. If you have come to rob me, I have nothing worth taking. If you have come to kill me, then do it quickly. I am tired of waiting for death in this tomb." Lily's hand flew to her mouth, stifling the sob that threatened to escape. The resignation in his voice mirrored the exhaustion in her bones, the bone-deep weariness of surviving when everything worth living for had been stripped away. "I am not here to hurt you," she managed, her voice cracking. "I am running. There are men hunting me. Bad men. They killed my parents, my younger brother. They burned our ranch outside Calistoga. I have been running for 3 days and I cannot run any more." The man's head tilted slightly, tracking her voice with uncanny precision. "You are injured," he stated flatly. "I can smell blood. Fresh, not old." She glanced down at her torn dress, at the gash across her forearm where she had fallen against sharp rocks during her flight. The wound had soaked through the makeshift bandage she had tied from a strip of her petticoat. "It is nothing," she lied. "How many are following you?" "4. Maybe 5. They wear red bandanas. They rode into our ranch demanding water and food, and when my father refused to give them our last stores, they shot him where he stood. My mother tried to stop them and they—" Her voice broke entirely, the words dying in her throat as the images she had been trying desperately to outrun crashed over her again. The mountain man rose to his feet with surprising grace for someone so large, and Lily saw that he stood well over 6 feet tall, his frame filling the small cave with raw physical presence. His clothes were simple buckskin and worn cotton, patched many times over, and a hunting rifle leaned against the wall within easy reach. But as he moved, his hands swept before him in small, careful gestures, mapping the space between them, confirming what she had already understood. He was blind. "How long have you been in this cave?" she asked softly. "I stopped counting the days around February." His answer was matter of fact, but beneath it she heard layers of despair. "I came up here last autumn to trap. There was an accident in November, dynamite blast. Some fool miners working a silver claim thought they had found the mother lode and set charges without proper warning. I was hunting nearby and the blast brought down half the mountain. Rock struck my head, and when I woke, there was only darkness." By the time I could walk again, winter had set in hard. I could not navigate down the mountain without sight, so I waited for spring. But spring came and went, and I still could not see. I have survived on rabbits I trap by sound, on water that drips from the rocks, on wild onions and roots I remember from before. I told myself someone would come looking, but nobody did. I told myself my sight would return, but it has not. So I have waited here in the dark, and the dark has become everything. His name was Wade Kincaid, and as the afternoon shadows lengthened outside the cave mouth, Lily learned his story in fragments. He had been a trapper and hunter, working the high country between Calistoga and the Nevada border. 28 years old, strong as an ox, he had carved a life from these mountains with his bare hands and his will. He had planned to make one more season's worth of pelts, then head down to Sacramento to start a proper business, maybe find a wife, build something lasting. But fate had other plans, and now he sat in perpetual night, waiting to die because he could not imagine how to live. "I can be your eyes," Lily heard herself say, the words spilling out before her rational mind could stop them. She was 19 years old, alone in the world, hunted by killers, with no money and no home and no prospects beyond the next sunrise. But sitting in this cave with this broken giant of a man, she felt something stir inside her chest that she thought had died with her family. Purpose. "You have shelter, you have survival skills, you know these mountains. I have eyes that work. Together we might both live through this." Wade's unseeing gaze turned toward her, and for a long moment he said nothing. Then, with a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a sob, he nodded. "What is your name, Lily Brennan?" "Lily," he repeated, as if tasting the word. "Like the flowers that grow by the creek in spring, I remember those. White petals, yellow centers, smell like hope." His mouth twisted. "I am not much of a bargain, Lily Brennan. I cannot offer you safety or comfort or anything resembling a normal life. But if you can truly see for me, if you can be my eyes, then I will be your shelter. I will protect you with everything I have left. Those men who hunt you will have to go through me to reach you, and I promise you, blind or not, I am not easy to kill." As if summoned by his words, a sound drifted up from the valley below. Voices, rough and carrying, punctuated by the whinnying of horses. Lily crept to the cave entrance and peered down through the scrub brush and rock formations. Her blood turned to ice in her veins. "They are here," she whispered. "5 of them. They are searching the rocks below. One of them is pointing up toward this area. They must have tracked me." Wade moved to his weapons with sure, practiced motions, his hands finding his rifle, checking the load by touch alone. "Describe the terrain between here and them." Lily forced herself to look, to truly see and not simply panic. "There is a narrow path leading up to this cave. Only wide enough for one man at a time. Loose rocks on either side, a drop of maybe 30 feet to the left, some scrub pine for cover about halfway up. How long before they reach us? 10 minutes if they come directly. Maybe 15 if they are cautious." Wade nodded, his jaw set. "Listen carefully. Behind me, deeper in the cave, there is a crevice in the rock. It leads to a second chamber I use for storage. You can squeeze through if you are not too large. Go there now. Take water and food. If I fall, you wait until dark, then you run. You head northeast toward the high passes. There is a settlement called Pine Flat, about 2 days' walk. Ask for a man named Samuel Tucker. Tell him Wade Kincaid sent you. He will help you." "No." The word came out harder than Lily intended. "I said I would be your eyes. I meant it. Tell me what you need me to do." For the first time since she had stumbled into his cave, Wade Kincaid smiled, and it transformed his haggard face into something fierce and alive. Then you and I are about to have a very bad day, but those men below are about to have a worse one. Can you shoot?" "My father taught me when I was 12. "Good. There is a pistol in the leather satchel by the water barrel. It is loaded and ready. You take position behind those rocks near the entrance where you have cover. You are my eyes, Lily. You tell me where they are, how they move, and when to fire. I can shoot by sound better than most men can shoot by sight, but I need you to guide me. Can you do this?" Lily's hands shook as she retrieved the pistol, as she positioned herself where Wade directed, as she watched the outlaws begin their ascent up the narrow mountain path. Everything in her screamed to run, to hide, to surrender to the fear that had driven her for 3 days. But then she looked at Wade, saw him steady and calm despite the darkness that imprisoned him, saw the strength in his weathered hands as they gripped his rifle, and something in her spine straightened. "The first one is about 50 yards out," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "He has a rifle, red bandana around his neck. He is moving slowly, watching the rocks." "I remember voices," Wade said quietly. "When they speak, tell me." They waited in tense silence as the outlaws climbed closer. Then one of them called out, his voice echoing off the stone. "We know you are up there, girl. We found your blood on the rocks. Come on out and we will make it quick. Make us come in after you, and you will wish we had just shot you back at that ranch." "That is the one who shot my father," Lily breathed, and her hand tightened on the pistol grip. Wade's expression went cold. 30 yards, he asked. 40, just passing that lightning-struck pine you mentioned before. Tell me when he is at 30, right side or left side of the path. Left, closest to the drop-off. They waited. Lily counted her heartbeats. The outlaw advanced, confident, his rifle held loosely. He thought he was hunting a scared girl alone in the wilderness. He had no idea what waited in the darkness of the cave. 30 yards, Lily whispered. Wade's rifle came up smooth as silk, angling toward the cave mouth. "Adjust me." "Left or right?" 2 inches right. "Down a fraction." "That is good. That is perfect." The rifle boomed in the confined space, and Lily watched the outlaw fly backward off the path, his scream cutting short as he plummeted down the rocky slope. The remaining 4 scattered like startled quail, diving for cover behind boulders and scrub. "Did I hit him?" Wade asked calmly, already working the lever to chamber another round. "Yes, he is gone. The others are hiding now. They are yelling to each other." Lily strained to hear over the ringing in her ears from the gunshot. "What are they saying?" One of them is asking if anyone saw where the shot came from. Another one says there must be someone with me. They sound angry, scared too, maybe. Good. Fear makes men stupid. Wade settled back into position. "Now we wait. They will try to flank us or they will try to rush us. Either way, you keep watching and you keep telling me what you see." The afternoon stretched into evening and the standoff continued. The outlaws tried twice to advance, and twice Wade's rifle spoke with Lily's guidance, sending them scrambling back to cover. One took a bullet through the shoulder and had to be dragged to safety by his companions. As the light began to fade, Lily heard them arguing below, their voices carrying in the still mountain air. "This is crazy, Dutch. That is some kind of sharpshooter up there. We signed on to rob ranches, not get killed storming some damned mountain fortress. Shut your mouth. That girl saw our faces. She can identify us. We cannot let her live. Then you go up there and dig her out. I am done." Lily relayed the conversation to Wade, who nodded thoughtfully. "They are breaking. 1 or 2 more hours and they will give up for the night. But they will be back at first light and they will be smarter about it. We need to move after dark." "Move where?" Lily asked. "You cannot navigate these mountains in darkness." Wade's smile returned, grim but determined. "No, but you can, and I can follow." "We head higher, deeper into the ranges where horses cannot go. I know these mountains, Lily. I know every game trail, every water source, every cave and crevice. I just need you to see them for me. If we can reach the high passes, we can lose them in country where city-bred outlaws will not dare to follow. As the sun set in a blaze of orange and gold beyond the cave mouth, painting the California sky in colors Wade could no longer see, Lily described it to him in detail. She told him about the way the light caught on the distant peaks, turning them to flame. She told him about the hawk riding the thermals below, its wings spread wide. She told him about the beauty that still existed in a world that had taken so much from both of them. And Wade listened, his blind eyes glistening with moisture, and nodded his thanks. They prepared through the evening hours, Wade moving through the cave with the sureness of long familiarity, gathering supplies by touch. He had dried meat, hardtack, a water skin, ammunition, a knife that looked sharp enough to split hairs. He packed it all into a leather rucksack that he slung across his broad back as easily as if it weighed nothing. Lily tore strips from her already ruined dress to wrap her bleeding feet, accepted the spare boots Wade offered that were far too large but better than nothing, and tried to calm the trembling in her limbs. "I am scared," she admitted as they waited for full darkness. "Good," Wade replied. "Fear keeps you sharp, keeps you alive. The trick is not letting it make you freeze. Can you do this, Lily? Can you really guide me through the mountains in the dark?" She thought of her father, tall and proud on his horse, teaching her to ride before she could walk properly. She thought of her mother, gentle and strong, showing her how to read the stars for navigation during their wagon journey west when Lily was just a girl. She thought of her brother Samuel, only 14, who had died trying to protect their mother with nothing but a pitchfork against armed men. "Yes," she said, and meant it. "I can do this." They left the cave an hour after sunset, moving in silence up the mountainside while the outlaws camped below, their fire a distant orange glow in the darkness. Wade's hand rested lightly on Lily's shoulder, his other hand holding a walking stick he used to test the ground. She guided him step by careful step, whispering warnings about loose rocks and drop-offs, describing the path ahead in the star-lit darkness. It was slow, exhausting work, but Wade never complained, never stumbled. His trust in her was absolute, and that trust gave her strength she did not know she possessed. They climbed for hours, leaving the cave far behind, ascending into higher country where the air grew thin and cold. The terrain was brutal, all sharp stone and treacherous footing, but Wade seemed to know every inch by memory alone. "There is a creek ahead," he murmured. "You should hear it soon. We need to cross there and head up the ridge line. The water will hide our trail." Sure enough, within another 100 yards, Lily heard the musical sound of running water. They crossed the creek, the icy mountain runoff soaking them to the knees, and began the climb up the ridge. By the time false dawn began to lighten the eastern sky, they had put miles between themselves and the outlaws, and Lily's legs burned with exhaustion. "There," Wade said, his head cocked as if listening to something beyond normal hearing. 30 paces ahead and to your right. Do you see an outcropping that overhangs? Like a shelf." Lily squinted in the growing light and gasped. "Yes. How did you know?" "I can hear the way the wind moves differently around sheltered spaces. It is how I have survived these months. You learn to hear what your eyes once told you." He gestured forward. "That overhang shelters a small cave, barely more than an indent in the rock, but it is hidden from below and protected from above. We can rest there through the day, then move again at dusk." The cave was exactly as Wade described, and Lily wanted to weep with relief as she sank down onto the sandy floor. Her feet throbbed, her arms ached, and every muscle in her body screamed protest. Wade lowered himself beside her with a soft grunt, already pulling out the dried meat to share. "You did well," he said quietly. "Better than well. I have not moved that fast or that far since I lost my sight. You are a natural guide." "I am terrified," Lily confessed, accepting the meat gratefully. "Every moment I kept thinking I would make a mistake, lead you wrong, get us both killed." "But you did not. You trusted yourself and you trusted me." Wade's unseeing eyes turned toward her, and even without sight his gaze felt warm. "That is the beginning of something rare in this world, Lily Brennan. Trust. I had forgotten what it felt like." They ate in companionable silence, and as the sun climbed higher, warming the rocks around their shelter, Lily found herself studying Wade's face properly for the first time. Beneath the beard and the grime and the marks of his long ordeal, she saw strong features, a straight nose, a jaw that could have been carved from granite. His hands were huge, scarred from years of hard work, but gentle when they moved. She found herself wondering what color his eyes had been before the accident, before the darkness took them. "Gray," Wade said suddenly, and Lily startled. "What, my eyes? You were wondering. They were gray, like storm clouds. My mother used to say I had my father's eyes. He was a trapper, too, worked these same mountains 40 years ago. Died when I was 15, killed by a grizzly up near Lake Tahoe. My mother passed 2 years after that, fever. I have been alone since then, mostly. It suited me, or so I thought." He paused, his rough fingers tracing the edge of his water skin. "Strange how you can be alone for years and think it is what you want, right up until you are truly alone in the dark with no hope of anything else. Then you realize what you have lost." "I understand," Lily said softly. "I thought I understood loneliness before. After my mother died when I was 16, after my father buried himself in work and stopped really seeing me. But that was nothing compared to watching them die, to being the only one left. To running through the wilderness with no destination and no purpose except survival for its own sake." Wade reached out slowly, his hand searching the air until Lily understood and took it in her own. His grip was warm and strong, and she felt calluses that matched her own, the hands of people who knew hard work and harder losses. "Then we are both alone," Wade said. "Or we were. Maybe now we do not have to be." They rested through the heat of the day, taking turns keeping watch while the other slept. When Lily woke from a fitful doze filled with nightmares of burning buildings and gunshots, she found Wade sitting at the cave entrance, his head tilted as he listened to the world beyond. "They are still following," he said without preamble. "I can hear them far below. 2 horses, maybe 3. The others must have turned back, but the determined ones are still hunting." "How can you possibly hear them from this distance?" Lily asked, moving to sit beside him. "Close your eyes," Wade instructed. "Truly close them. Do not cheat. Now listen, tell me what you hear." Lily obeyed, letting her eyelids fall shut. At first there was only silence, or what she thought was silence. But as she focused, as she truly listened, the mountain came alive around her. She heard the wind moving through the pine branches somewhere below. She heard the chittering of ground squirrels, the distant cry of a hawk, the rustle of something larger moving through underbrush. And yes, beneath it all, the faint echo of iron horseshoes striking stone, the jingle of tack and harness. "I hear them," she breathed. "That is the first lesson," Wade said. "The world talks to you constantly if you learn its language. I have had months of nothing but darkness to learn it. Now I will teach you, and you will teach me to see again through your eyes. Fair trade." They spent the afternoon in that small cave high above the world, and Wade taught Lily things she had never imagined. He showed her how to identify a water source by the sound of birds and the smell of green growing things. He demonstrated how to move silently over loose rock by placing your feet carefully, rolling from heel to toe, feeling for stability before committing your weight. He explained how to read weather by the taste of the air and the way the wind changed direction as storms approached. In return, Lily described the world around them with increasing detail. She told Wade about the wildflowers growing in cracks in the rocks, tiny purple blooms she did not know the names of. She described the way clouds moved across the sky, building into towering thunderheads above the peaks to the west. She painted pictures with words, and Wade listened with an intensity that made her feel seen in a way she had not felt since her mother died. "You have a gift for this," Wade said, after she finished describing a particularly intricate pattern of lichen growing on a sun-warmed boulder. "Most people look, but they do not see. They move through the world half-blind even with working eyes, but you see everything, every detail. It is beautiful." Lily felt heat rise in her cheeks. "My mother was an artist. Before we came west, she painted portraits back in St. Louis. She taught me to observe, to really look at things. I have not thought about that in years." "She would be proud of you," Wade said quietly. "Running into these mountains alone, surviving, keeping your head, that takes strength." "I do not feel strong. I feel terrified and exhausted and so angry I could scream." "That is what strength is, doing what must be done when you are terrified and exhausted and angry. Anyone can be brave when they are comfortable." Wade's hand found hers again, his grip steady and sure. "You are stronger than you know, Lily Brennan." As evening approached, they prepared to move again. The outlaws below were closer now, maybe only an hour behind. Wade's expression grew grave as he listened to their approach. "They are pushing their horses hard, taking risks. The man leading them must want you very badly." "Dutch," Lily said, the name bitter on her tongue. That is what the others called him. He seemed to be in charge. He was the one who... She could not finish the sentence. Wade's jaw tightened. "Then Dutch is about to learn that some prey bites back." "Come. We head for the high passes now. There are places up there that only mountain goats and damn fools go. I am a damn fool with nothing to lose, and you are motivation enough to be careful. We can make it." They climbed into the gathering dusk, pushing higher and higher into country where the trees thinned to nothing and bare rocks stretched in all directions. The air grew cold and thin, making each breath a labor. Lily's vision swam with exhaustion, but Wade pressed on relentlessly, his hand on her shoulder, his trust absolute. She described the path ahead through increasingly numb lips, guided him around drop-offs that made her stomach lurch, and tried not to think about the impossibility of what they were attempting. Hours later, as the moon rose full and bright above the peaks, they reached a place where the trail simply ended. Before them stretched a narrow ledge, barely 2 feet wide, running along the face of a cliff. To the left, rock rose straight up for 100 feet. To the right, empty air dropped away into darkness so deep Lily could not see the bottom. "I cannot," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Wade, I cannot do this. That ledge is too narrow. One wrong step and we are dead." Wade stood still, his breathing heavy from the climb. Then slowly, deliberately, he turned to face her. His hands came up to cup her face, his rough palms warm against her cold cheeks. His blind eyes stared at a point just past her left shoulder, but the intensity in his expression held her captive. "Yes, you can," he said firmly. "I know you can because I can feel you shaking and I can hear your fear, and you are still standing here, still thinking about how to cross instead of simply giving up. That is courage, Lily. Real, true courage." His thumbs traced gentle circles on her cheekbones. "I need you to be my eyes one more time. Guide me across this ledge, and I swear on everything I have left that I will keep us both alive. I will not let you fall. Do you trust me?" Lily looked up into his scarred, bearded face, at the strength in his features and the certainty in his voice, and realized with a shock that she did trust him. This man she had known for barely a day, this broken mountain man who lived in darkness, had become the only solid thing in her shattered world. "I trust you," she said. They crossed the ledge together, Wade's back pressed against the cliff face, Lily in front of him with his hands on her waist, guiding her with small pressures and quiet words. She described every inch of the path, warned him of every crack and uneven surface, and tried not to look down at the drop that yawned beside them. The crossing took an eternity and no time at all, and when they finally reached the far side, Lily collapsed onto solid ground, shaking uncontrollably. Wade sank down beside her, pulling her against his chest, his arms wrapping around her with fierce protectiveness. "You did it," he murmured into her hair. "My God, Lily, you did it. You are magnificent." She clung to him, feeling the solid warmth of his body, the steady beat of his heart beneath her cheek. In that moment, huddled together on a windswept mountain peak under a cold moon, Lily Brennan understood that something had changed between them. They were no longer simply two desperate souls helping each other survive. They were becoming something more, something that terrified her almost as much as the drop-off they had just crossed. Because she was starting to care for Wade Kincaid, this fierce, blind mountain man who had shown her more strength and gentleness than any man she had ever known. And caring for someone meant being vulnerable, meant risking the kind of loss she had just endured when her family died. She did not know if her heart could survive that again. But Wade's arms were strong around her, and his voice was soft as he told her she was safe, that he had her, that everything would be all right. And despite everything, despite all the reasons to protect herself, Lily found herself beginning to believe him. They spent the night in a crevice between two massive boulders, huddled together for warmth as the temperature dropped to near freezing. Wade gave Lily his coat, ignoring her protests, and she fell asleep with her head on his shoulder while he kept watch through the long hours until dawn. When she woke, the sun was high and Wade was cooking something over a small fire he had built with wood he must have carried in his pack. The smell made her stomach growl audibly. "Rabbit," Wade said, his mouth quirking in a smile. "I set a snare before you woke, caught a fat one. We need real food, not just dried meat, if we are going to keep moving at this pace." "How did you set a snare without seeing?" Lily asked, sitting up stiffly. "Same way I do everything, by remembering how it felt when I could see and trusting my hands to do what my eyes once guided." He turned the spit with practiced ease. "I have been thinking about our pursuers. That ledge we crossed last night, no horse can navigate that. Even on foot, most men would not have the stomach for it. We have bought ourselves time, maybe even lost them completely. But we should keep moving north for another day or two, put as much distance as possible between us and Calistoga." "And then what?" Lily asked quietly. Wade was silent for a long moment, his blind eyes staring into the fire he could not see. "I do not know," he admitted. "I have been surviving for so long I have forgotten what comes after survival. Before the accident I had plans. I was going to buy land, build a proper cabin, maybe start a ranch. But that was when I could see. What use is a blind rancher or a blind hunter or a blind anything?" "You are not useless," Lily said fiercely. "You have kept yourself alive for months in these mountains without sight. You have protected me from outlaws. You have more strength and skill than most men I have known who had all their faculties. Strength and skill do not change reality. I cannot farm land I cannot see. I cannot build a cabin without eyes to guide me. I cannot provide for." He stopped abruptly. Cannot provide for what? Lily pressed. Wade shook his head. Nothing. Foolish thoughts. We should eat and then move on. But Lily had heard the unfinished sentence, understood the weight behind it. Cannot provide for a wife, cannot build a life, cannot be anything except broken. Her heart ached for him, for the dreams he thought he had lost. They ate the rabbit and broke camp, moving north through increasingly rugged terrain. They were deep in the high Sierra Nevada now, in country where few men ventured. The peaks around them stretched in every direction, jagged and magnificent, dusted with snow that never fully melted even in summer. Wade navigated by memory and sound, and Lily guided him with growing confidence, their partnership becoming smoother with each mile. On the third day after leaving the cave, they crested a ridge and Lily gasped. Spread below them was a high mountain valley, emerald green with grass, split by a crystal stream that tumbled down from the peaks above. Pine forest ringed the valley, and in the center stood a small log structure, weathered but intact. "What do you see?" Wade asked urgently, hearing her gasp. "A valley," Lily breathed. "Beautiful and hidden, and a cabin, Wade. Someone built a cabin here." Wade's face transformed. "The old MacDonald place. I had forgotten about it. Angus MacDonald, Scottish trapper, built that cabin 30 years ago. He died maybe 5 years back, never had family. I came through here once, years ago, and he gave me a meal and told me stories. He said if I ever needed it, the cabin was free for the taking. I thought the valley was farther west. We must have been moving faster than I realized." They descended into the valley as the sun began its descent toward evening. The cabin was small but solidly built, one room with a stone fireplace, a rough bed frame, a table, and 2 chairs. The roof had a hole in one corner, and animals had clearly made themselves at home, but the basic structure was sound. "We could stay here," Lily said wonderingly. "Fix it up." "Wade, we could actually stay here." Wade stood in the center of the cabin, his hands outstretched, touching the walls and furniture, mapping the space. "It would take work. Repair the roof, clear out the debris, stock supplies for winter. And winter comes early and hard this high up. We would be snowed in from October until April, maybe May. But we would be safe, hidden. No one knows we are here. You would spend a winter trapped in this valley with a blind man," Wade asked, his voice carefully neutral. "Lily, you could go to Pine Flat like I mentioned. Samuel Tucker would help you get to Sacramento, to civilization. You could rebuild your life, find a real home, a real future. You do not have to chain yourself to broken things just because I pulled you out of the fire." Lily crossed the cabin floor until she stood directly in front of Wade. She reached up and took his face in her hands, making him look down at where she stood even though he could not see her. "You listen to me, Wade Kincaid," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "You did not pull me out of the fire. We pulled each other out. I was dying in that cave just as surely as you were, dying from grief and fear and despair. You gave me purpose. You gave me strength. You made me feel like I mattered again. And yes, maybe I could go to some settlement and find some semblance of a normal life. But normal died when my family died. I do not want normal. I want real. I want true. I want someone who sees me even without working eyes, who trusts me, who needs me as much as I need him." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I want you, Wade, if you will have me." Wade's hands came up to cover hers where they rested on his face. His blind eyes glistened with moisture. "I have nothing to offer you. I am broken, Lily. Damaged goods. You deserve so much more than a blind mountain man with a falling-down cabin in the middle of nowhere." "You have everything I need," Lily said simply. "You have courage and strength and gentleness. You have patience and skill. You have survived things that would have killed most men. and you have become my shelter just as I have become your eyes. Is that not enough?" For answer, Wade bent his head and kissed her. It was gentle at first, tentative, as if he was afraid she might break or disappear. But when Lily leaned into him, when her arms wrapped around his neck, and she kissed him back with all the longing and fear and hope she had been carrying, the kiss deepened. Wade's arms came around her waist, lifting her nearly off her feet, and she felt the incredible strength in him, the leashed power he had kept so carefully controlled. She felt safe in those arms, safer than she had felt since the moment the outlaws had ridden into her family's ranch. She felt home. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Wade rested his forehead against hers. "Are you certain?" he asked hoarsely. "This will not be easy, Lily. This life will be hard and isolated and full of challenges. You will have to be my eyes for everything. You will have to guide me and describe the world and be patient when I stumble. And I will make mistakes. I will be frustrated and probably impossible sometimes, because I am still learning how to be this broken version of myself." "Then we learn together," Lily said, "because I am broken too, Wade. My family is gone. My home is ashes. Everything I knew is destroyed. So we build something new, something that is ours. We fix this cabin and we survive the winter and we figure out how to live again day by day together. Is that not what love is?" Wade's breath caught. "Love," he repeated wonderingly. "Lily, we have known each other less than a week. I know, it is insane. It defies all logic and sense, but I do not care about logic anymore. I care that when I am with you, I feel alive instead of just surviving. I care that you treat me like I am strong and capable instead of fragile. I care that you trusted me with your life when you had every reason not to. I care that, when you hold me, I can imagine a future again instead of just endless running." She pulled back enough to look up at his face, at the wonder and fear and hope warring in his expression. "I am saying I love you, Wade Kincaid. Maybe it is too soon. Maybe I am crazy, but it is true." Wade's hands came up to frame her face, his thumbs tracing her cheekbones with exquisite gentleness. "Then I am crazy too," he said roughly. "Because I love you, Lily Brennan. I have loved you since you took my hand in that cave and promised to be my eyes. I have loved you through every step across those mountains, through every moment you could have run and chose to stay. I have loved you without even knowing what you look like, loving you for your courage and your kindness and your strength. And if you will have me, broken as I am, I swear I will spend the rest of my life being worthy of that love." They held each other in the gathering darkness of the cabin, two broken souls finding wholeness in each other, and Lily knew with absolute certainty that she had made the right choice. This man, this place, this impossible future they were choosing together, felt more real and true than anything she had known in her 19 years. The work began the next morning. Wade directed and Lily executed, and together they began to transform the abandoned cabin into a home. Wade's knowledge of construction and survival was vast, accumulated through years of mountain living, and Lily marveled at how clearly he could visualize what needed to be done even without sight. "The roof first," he said, his hands tracing the beams overhead. "We need to patch that hole before the summer storms really start. There should be deadfall timber in the forest, reasonably straight pieces. We need pine tar to seal the joints, which we can make from sap. Do you see any pines with damage near the base, places where sap is actively flowing?" Lily did, and over the next week she gathered sap while Wade showed her how to render it into waterproof tar. They cut saplings and shaped them by hand, Wade working by touch with an axe that looked too large for safety but which he wielded with absolute precision. Lily watched in amazement as he felt the grain of the wood, found the natural straight lines, and split perfect shingles without once injuring himself. "How do you do that?" she asked after he had produced a stack of uniform shingles. "How do you know where to strike?" "The wood tells me," Wade said simply. "I can feel the grain under my fingers. I can hear the difference in sound when I tap the axe against straight grain versus crossed grain. Everything speaks if you listen. You have to trust things beyond your eyes." They replaced the damaged section of roof, Wade on the ground preparing materials, while Lily climbed up to do the actual installation under his careful instruction. When they finished, when the last shingle was sealed with tar, they stood back and Wade asked the question he had asked 100 times. "Describe it to me." "It looks strong," Lily said. "The new wood is lighter than the old, but the whole thing sits square and true. Rain will not get through that roof for a decade at least." Wade smiled, satisfaction evident in his expression. "Then we have a roof over our heads. Next we need to stock food for winter. The stream is full of trout and there are deer in these mountains. I can show you how to set snares and fish traps. You can hunt with the rifle and I can preserve what you bring back. Do you know how to smoke meat?" Lily did not, so Wade taught her, constructing a smokehouse from rocks and green wood. He taught her to fish using techniques his father had shown him as a boy, and to his obvious delight, she proved a natural. Within days, she was bringing back strings of fat trout, and Wade cleaned them by touch with a knife that flashed in his skilled hands. They fell into a rhythm, working together from sunup to sundown, transforming the valley into a refuge. Wade showed Lily which plants were edible and which were poison, teaching her to identify them by leaf shape and smell. He demonstrated how to tan leather using deer brains and how to sew buckskin with sinew thread. He revealed 1,000 skills accumulated through a lifetime in the wilderness, and Lily absorbed them all like parched earth drinking rain. In the evenings, they sat by the fire Wade built by feel and ember, and Lily read to him from the one book they had found in the cabin, a battered copy of Shakespeare's sonnets that had somehow survived the years. Her voice filled the small space, and Wade listened with his eyes closed, sometimes murmuring the words along with her when she reached a passage he remembered from before. "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" Lily read. "Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May," Wade continued from memory, "and summer's lease hath all too short a date." They spoke of their pasts in careful increments, sharing pieces of themselves in the darkness. Wade told her about his childhood, about following his father through these mountains, learning to read tracks and signs before he could read words. He spoke of his mother's gentle hands and her death from fever that had ravaged their small mining camp. He described the loneliness of the years after, the way he had convinced himself that solitude was strength. Lily shared her own memories. The wagon journey west when she was 10 years old, crossing the plains with her parents and baby brother. The ranch her father had built from nothing, the years of hard work and slow progress. Her mother's paintings, lost now in the fire, irreplaceable images of a woman's dreams. Her brother's laughter, silenced forever at 14. "I dream about them," she confessed one night as thunder rumbled overhead and rain drummed on their repaired roof. "Every night I dream about the fire, about running, about their faces, and I wake up reaching for something that is not there anymore." Wade pulled her closer, her back against his chest as they lay on the rough bed they had repaired together. "I dream too," he said quietly. "I dream that I can see again. I dream of colors and faces and distances. And when I wake to darkness, for a moment I forget and the loss is fresh all over again. But then I hear your breathing beside me, and I remember that even in the dark, I am not alone anymore." Summer deepened toward autumn and their supplies grew. The smokehouse filled with preserved venison and trout. Lily gathered wild onions, berries, and medicinal herbs under Wade's instruction, storing them carefully for winter. They cut firewood until the cabin walls were stacked high with split logs. They reinforced the cabin's chinking, sealed every crack against the cold to come, and through it all, they grew closer. Wade learned the sound of Lily's footsteps, could identify her mood by the pattern of her breathing. Lily learned to anticipate what Wade needed before he asked, to describe the world with the detail and poetry he craved. They moved together like dancers learning a complex choreography, each step bringing them more in tune. One evening in late August, as the sun painted the valley in shades of amber and rose, Lily found Wade sitting by the stream, his bare feet in the cold water, his face turned toward the sky he could not see. "Tell me about the sunset," he said when he heard her approach. Lily sat beside him, taking his hand. "The whole sky is on fire," she said softly. "Orange and pink and purple, layered like a painting. The clouds are edged in gold. The peaks across the valley are black silhouettes against all that color. The stream reflects it, so we are surrounded by fire that does not burn." "I remember sunsets," Wade murmured. "I remember the way the light would catch on the snow peaks, turning them pink. The way shadows would stretch long across the ground. I did not appreciate them enough when I could see them." "Then I will appreciate them for both of us," Lily said. She leaned against his shoulder. "Wade, I want to ask you something, anything. Will you marry me?" Wade went very still. "Lily," he started. "I know there is no preacher in these mountains," she continued quickly. "I know we have no license or witnesses or anything official. But we have each other, and we have chosen each other, and I want to make that choice permanent. I want to be your wife in every way that matters. I want to build this life with you not just as partners but as husband and wife. So I am asking you, Wade Kincaid, will you marry me?" Wade turned toward her, his blind eyes searching. His hand came up to cup her face, his thumb tracing her lower lip. "You humble me," he said roughly. "Yes, Lily Brennan. Yes, I will marry you. I will be your husband and your shelter and your home for as long as I draw breath. I do not have a ring to give you or fine words to say, but I have this." He drew a knife from his belt, the same one he used for everything from cleaning fish to carving tools. With steady hands, he felt for a thin branch of willow growing beside the stream, cut it free, and stripped it clean, working by touch alone. Wade wove the willow into a circle, his fingers finding and creating patterns Lily could only wonder at. When he finished, he held up a ring of woven willow, delicate and beautiful, exactly the right size for her finger. "It is not gold," he said. "It will not last forever, but neither will we. What matters is the promise, not the symbol. This ring is my vow to you, Lily. I will love you and protect you and cherish you every day I have left in this world. You have become my eyes, and I will be your shelter, now and always." Tears streaming down her face, Lily held out her hand and let Wade slide the ring onto her finger. Then she took his much larger hand in hers and wove a matching ring from willow, placing it on his finger with her own vow. "You have given me hope when I thought it was lost forever," she said. "You have shown me that broken things can still be beautiful, that darkness can still hold light. I will be your eyes and your heart and your home. I will love you with everything I am for as long as I live." They sealed their promises with a kiss as the sun set fire to the sky above them. And in that moment, Lily Brennan became Lily Kincaid in every way that mattered. They made love that night in the cabin they had built together, learning each other with hands and lips and whispered words, creating memories that would sustain them through the long winter ahead. The first snow fell in late September, earlier than Wade had predicted. They woke to a world transformed, everything white and silent. Lily stood at the cabin door, marveling at the beauty, and described it to Wade in careful detail. "It is like the world has been covered in fresh cotton," she said. "Everything is soft and white. The trees are frosted. The stream still runs, dark water against white banks. And the silence, Wade. It is so quiet I can hear my own heartbeat." Wade came to stand behind her, his arms around her waist, his chin resting on top of her head. "I remember snow," he said. "The way it muffles sound, makes everything feel hushed. The way it crunches under your boots and melts on your tongue. Thank you for helping me see it again through your eyes." The snow continued through October and November, piling deep around the cabin. They were snowed in now, exactly as Wade had predicted, trapped in their high valley until spring. But trapped did not feel like the right word. Safe felt better. Hidden. Home. They spent the winter months building a life inside the cabin walls. Wade carved tools and utensils by the fire, his hands creating beautiful functional pieces from wood and antler. Lily sewed clothes from the buckskin they had tanned, stitching by firelight while Wade told her stories of the mountains and his father's adventures. They played endless games of 20 questions, of riddles and memory challenges, keeping their minds sharp. And they loved each other with an intensity that might have frightened Lily if it had not felt so absolutely right. Wade learned every inch of her body by touch, could identify her mood by the sound of her breath. Lily memorized the topography of his scars, the places where old injuries had left their marks, the strength in his shoulders and the gentleness in his hands. In December, Lily realized she was pregnant. She sat with the knowledge for a week, terrified and elated in equal measure, before finally telling Wade one evening as they lay together in the darkness. "I am carrying your child," she said simply. Wade went absolutely still. Then his hand moved to rest on her stomach, still flat but carrying new life. "Are you certain?" he asked, his voice shaking. "As certain as I can be without a doctor. I have missed my courses twice now and I feel different. There is a heaviness, a awareness of my body that was not there before." "A child," Wade breathed. "Lily, a child, I never thought." He stopped, overcome. "I know," Lily said, covering his hand with her own. "I know this is not what we planned. I know winter is a terrible time to be pregnant and that we are isolated and that there are so many risks. But Wade, I want this baby. I want our baby. Does that make me foolish?" For answer, Wade pulled her tight against him, his face buried in her hair. She felt moisture on her neck and realized he was crying, great silent sobs that shook his massive frame. "You have given me everything," he said when he could speak again. "You have given me hope and purpose and love, and now this, a child, a future I thought was impossible. How can I ever deserve you?" "You deserve me by being exactly who you are," Lily said fiercely. "You deserve me by loving me the way you do, by trusting me, by building this life with me. And you will deserve this child by being the father I know you will be, strong and protective and gentle and true." They held each other through the night, planning and dreaming and worrying in equal measure. A baby meant complications. They would need supplies they did not have, medical knowledge neither possessed. The nearest doctor was in Pine Flat, 2 days away in summer, completely unreachable in winter. Lily would have to give birth here in this cabin with only Wade to help her, a blind man who would have to trust her entirely to guide him. But they had survived impossible things already. They had crossed mountains in darkness. They had built a home from ruins. They had found love in the midst of loss and tragedy. Surely they could survive this too. Winter deepened. The snow piled higher, completely covering the cabin's single window, trapping them in a small world of firelight and shadow. They measured time by the woodpile diminishing, by the stores of food slowly consumed, by the changes in Lily's body as the baby grew. Wade became fiercely protective as Lily's stomach rounded. He insisted on doing all the heavy work, refused to let her venture outside during storms, worried constantly about her health. Lily found his concern both touching and occasionally frustrating. "I am pregnant, not broken," she said one day when he tried to take a water bucket from her hands. "I know," Wade said, "but you are carrying something precious. You are carrying our future. Let me protect that. Let me protect you." So Lily let him fuss and worry, understanding that this was Wade's way of dealing with fear he could not fight and danger he could not see. She described the baby's movements to him in detail, pressed his hands to her stomach so he could feel the kicks and rolls. She talked to their child constantly, telling stories and singing songs, and Wade would listen with his head against her belly, marveling at the life growing within. Spring came late to the high mountains. It was not until early May that the snow began to truly melt, revealing the valley beneath. Lily was 7 months pregnant by then, her stomach huge, her movements awkward. But she had never felt stronger or more purposeful. They emerged from the cabin like bears from hibernation, blinking in the brilliant sunlight. The valley was transformed, everything green and alive, the stream running high with snowmelt. Lily described it all to Wade, the explosion of wildflowers, the return of the birds, the way life reasserted itself after the long death of winter. "We made it," she said wonderingly. "We survived." "We did more than survive," Wade corrected, his hand resting on her pregnant belly. "We built something. We created something. This valley, this cabin, this child, this is our life now, Lily. Everything that came before was just preparation for this." They had 6 weeks before the baby was due, 6 weeks to prepare. Wade threw himself into the work with renewed energy, gathering supplies, reinforcing the cabin, making everything as safe and ready as possible. He carved a wooden cradle with his skilled hands, sanding it smooth by touch, until Lily marveled at its perfection. He stockpiled wood and water and food within easy reach of the bed. Lily made tiny clothes from the softest buckskin, sewing by the evening light. She prepared clean cloths and blankets. She went over everything she remembered her mother saying about childbirth, wishing desperately that she had paid more attention, that she had thought to ask more questions when she still had the chance. Wade held her when the fears became too much, when she cried about facing childbirth without her mother, without any woman to guide her through. "You are the strongest person I have ever known," he told her firmly. "You will do this. And I will be with you every step, guiding you the way you have guided me. We will bring our child into this world together." The baby came in late June, during a thunderstorm that shook the cabin walls and turned the valley into a symphony of rain and wind. The pains started at dawn, and Lily recognized them immediately for what they were. She had helped birth a calf once on her family's ranch, had seen her mother assist at a neighbor's delivery. She knew what was coming. "Wade," she said quietly, touching his shoulder, "it is time." To his credit, Wade did not panic. He had been preparing for this moment for months, visualizing every step, memorizing everything Lily had told him about what would be needed. He moved with calm efficiency, stoking the fire, heating water, laying out clean cloths and the sharp knife he had boiled the night before in preparation. "Talk to me," he said as Lily's contractions intensified. "Tell me what you need, what you feel. I am here, Lily, I have you." The labor lasted through the morning and into the afternoon, long hours of pain and work that pushed Lily to her absolute limits. Wade was a constant presence, his hands supporting her, his voice steady and calm even when she screamed, even when she was certain she could not continue. "You can do this," he said over and over. "You are doing this. You are bringing our child into the world, just a little more, my love, just a little further." And finally, as the storm outside reached its peak, as thunder shook the valley and lightning lit up the cabin through cracks in the walls, their son was born. He came into the world screaming, lusty and strong, and Wade's hands caught him with a gentleness that belied their size. Lily wept as Wade placed the baby on her chest, as she saw for the first time the tiny, perfect human they had created together. He had dark hair like his father, and when his eyes opened briefly, they were the same storm gray that Wade's had been before the accident. "Describe him to me," Wade said urgently, his hands hovering over his son with aching tenderness. "Tell me everything." "He is perfect," Lily said through her tears. "He has your eyes, Wade, your nose, my chin. He has all his fingers and toes. He is strong and healthy and beautiful. Our son is absolutely beautiful." Wade's hands traced the baby's face with exquisite care, learning him through touch the way he learned everything now. Tears streamed down his bearded face unchecked. "Hello, little one," he whispered. "Hello, my son. Welcome to the world. Your mother and I have been waiting for you." They named him Samuel, after Lily's brother who had died defending their mother. Samuel Wade Kincaid, born in a mountain cabin during a thunderstorm, into the arms of a blind father and a mother who had been forced to become strong. He was, they agreed, the perfect symbol of their love and their survival. The next months passed in a blur of sleepless nights and endless wonder. Wade was a natural father despite his blindness, learning to care for Samuel by touch and sound. He could tell the difference between hungry cries and tired cries, could change a diaper by feel alone, could soothe Samuel to sleep by simply holding him against his chest and humming old trail songs. Lily watched her husband with their son and fell in love with him all over again. She saw the gentleness in Wade's huge scarred hands as he cradled their tiny baby. She heard the wonder in his voice as he talked to Samuel, describing the world the child would someday see. She witnessed the way fatherhood had transformed Wade, giving him a purpose beyond mere survival. Summer faded to autumn, and they began preparing for their second winter in the valley. It was easier this time, knowing what to expect, having systems already in place. Samuel grew healthy and strong, an easy baby who seemed to thrive in the mountain environment. One evening in September, as they sat by the fire watching Samuel sleep in his cradle, Lily voiced a thought that had been growing in her mind for weeks. "Wade, we cannot stay hidden in this valley forever. Samuel will need things we cannot provide. Education, other children to play with, medical care, and she hesitated. "I think we need to make peace with the world beyond these mountains." Wade was quiet for a long moment. "I have been thinking the same thing," he admitted. "I have been afraid to say it, afraid of what leaving here might mean. This valley has been our sanctuary, but you are right. We cannot raise Samuel in complete isolation. He deserves more than that." "I am not saying we leave permanently," Lily clarified. "This is our home. But maybe in the spring, when Samuel is bigger and stronger, we could go down to Pine Flat. Let people know we are here, see what possibilities exist. Maybe." She paused. "Maybe find a doctor who could look at your eyes. It has been over a year since your injury, Wade. Is there any chance at all that something could be done?" Wade's hand drifted to his face, touching the scars around his eyes. "I do not dare hope for that," he said quietly. "I have learned to live in darkness. I have you and Samuel in this life. If I let myself hope for sight again and it proves impossible, the disappointment might break me." "Or," Lily said gently, "you could let yourself hope, and if nothing can be done, you will grieve and then continue as you have been. But Wade, what if there is a chance? What if some doctor somewhere knows something that could help? Do you not owe it to yourself to try? Do you not owe it to Samuel to at least explore the possibility? Wade pulled her close, his chin resting on top of her head. When did you become so wise? He asked. When I married a blind mountain man who taught me that impossible things can happen if you are brave enough to try, Lily replied. They spent the winter making plans. In the spring, as soon as the passes cleared, they would make the journey down to Pine Flat. It would be difficult with a small child, potentially dangerous, but they would go together. Wade would meet his old friend Samuel Tucker. They would establish themselves as residents of this high valley, stake a legal claim if possible. And yes, they would seek medical advice about Wade's blindness. Though neither dared speak too hopefully about what might be possible, Samuel's first winter passed more easily than his parents had feared. He was a happy child, quick to smile, fascinated by sounds and textures. Wade spent hours simply holding his son, letting Samuel explore his father's face with tiny, curious hands, describing everything he touched. "That is my nose," Wade would say as Samuel's fingers investigated. "And those are my ears, and this rough stuff is my beard. Your mother keeps threatening to make me shave it, but I tell her it keeps my face warm in winter." "I have made no such threat," Lily protested, laughing, "though I do wonder what you look like under all that hair." "Devastatingly handsome," Wade said with mock seriousness. "Women faint in the streets when I pass." "You have not been in a street in over 2 years, and you were living like a hermit for 6 months before that," Lily pointed out. "Details," Wade dismissed. These moments of lightness, of simple joy, sustained them through the long, dark months. They had built something precious in this hidden valley, something worth fighting to preserve and extend. They had created a family from the wreckage of their old lives. Spring came again, their second spring in the valley, and with it came decision time. Samuel was 9 months old now, crawling everywhere, pulling himself up on furniture, preparing to walk. The valley was turning green, the flowers blooming, the game returning from their winter ranges. "We could go," Wade said one morning as they stood outside the cabin, Samuel balanced on his hip. "The passes should be clear. The weather is holding good. If we are going to do this, Lily, now is the time." "Then let us do it," Lily said, taking his hand. "Let us take our son down to civilization and see what awaits us there." They packed carefully, taking minimal supplies but ensuring they had everything Samuel might need. The journey that had taken Lily days to climb in panicked flight took them 4 days to descend carefully with a baby. They moved slowly, cautiously, Wade using his walking stick while Lily carried Samuel and described the path ahead. The country they passed through was beautiful and wild, exactly as Lily remembered. But now she saw it with different eyes. This was Samuel's heritage, these mountains and valleys and streams. This was the world he would grow up knowing, and she wanted him to love it as his father did. On the evening of the 4th day, they saw smoke rising in the distance. Pine Flat was a small settlement, maybe 40 buildings scattered along a creek, with a general store, a saloon, a church, and various houses and cabins. It looked like civilization after their months in isolation, and Lily felt her heart beat faster with nervousness. "Describe it," Wade said, hearing the change in her breathing. "It is small, rough, a frontier town like 100 others, but there are people, Wade, real people. Children playing in the street, a woman hanging laundry, a man leading a wagon team. It feels overwhelming." "We do not have to do this," Wade said, though she could hear the uncertainty in his voice. "Yes, we do," Lily said firmly. "For Samuel, for us, for our future. Come on." They entered Pine Flat as the sun was setting, and within minutes they had attracted attention. A mountain man with a baby, guided by a young woman, all of them looking wild and weathered, was not something you saw every day. People stared. Children pointed. Lily felt Wade tense beside her and squeezed his hand reassuringly. "Samuel Tucker," Wade called out suddenly, his voice strong. "Is Samuel Tucker in Pine Flat?" An older man detached himself from a group outside the saloon and approached slowly. He was perhaps 50, weathered and lean, with sharp eyes that took in every detail. "I am Samuel Tucker," he said. "Who is asking?" "Wade Kincaid. We met 6-7 years back. You were trapping up near Silver Lake. I shared my camp with you when you got caught in that early snowstorm." Recognition dawned on Tucker's face. "Wade Kincaid. Hell, boy, everyone figured you were dead. There were rumors about that mining accident, about you being caught in the blast. Nobody has seen you in near 2 years. Then Tucker's eyes tracked to Wade's face, to the careful way he held his head, to the walking stick, and understanding came. "You are blind." "I am," Wade said simply. "Lost my sight in that blast. I have been surviving up in the high country in the old MacDonald Valley. This is my wife, Lily, and our son, Samuel. We have come down to establish ourselves, to stake a proper claim to that land, and to see if there is any possibility of medical help for my eyes." Tucker's expression softened. "Well, you have come to the right place for the claim. Judge Morrison handles all the land claims hereabouts. As for medical help—" He shook his head doubtfully. "We have a doctor here, Doc Brennan, but he mostly handles broken bones and fevers. Eye injuries, that is specialized work. You might need to go to Sacramento or even San Francisco for that." "Brennan?" Lily asked sharply. "Did you say Brennan?" "Yes, madam, Dr. Marcus Brennan. He arrived here about a year ago from back east." Why, Lily's knees went weak. "Brennan is my family name. My father was John Brennan. He had a brother, Marcus, who went back east to study medicine. We lost touch years ago." Tucker's eyebrows rose. "Well, that would be quite a coincidence. The doc lives in the White House at the end of the street. You should go introduce yourselves, but first, you all look exhausted. My wife and I have room if you need a place to stay." The Tuckers were kind, hosting them for the night, feeding them a proper meal, marveling at young Samuel. But Lily's mind was spinning with the possibility that her uncle might be here, that some piece of her family might have survived after all. She barely slept, and at first light she and Wade made their way to the White House at the end of the street. The man who answered their knock was in his 50s, gray-haired and distinguished, with eyes that were achingly familiar. Lily knew him instantly, despite the years and the changes. She had been a child when he left for medical school, but she remembered. "Uncle Marcus," she said, her voice breaking. The doctor stared at her, his face going pale. "Lily, little Lily Brennan, is that truly you?" What followed was an hour of tears and explanations. Marcus Brennan had indeed lost touch with his brother's family, had only recently learned through letters that John had taken his family west to California. He had come looking for them, had traced them to Calistoga, and had arrived there only to find the ranch burned, the family dead, and Lily vanished without a trace. He had mourned them all for the better part of a year, had established his practice in Pine Flat, half hoping that somehow, impossibly, Lily might have survived and might find her way to him. And now here she was, alive, married, with a child, and a husband who desperately needed medical help. Marcus examined Wade's eyes with careful thoroughness, asking detailed questions about the accident, the symptoms, the progression. Wade sat stoically through the examination, his jaw tight, clearly trying not to hope. Finally, Marcus sat back, his expression grave. "The damage is significant," he said carefully. "The blast caused hemorrhaging behind the eyes, and the subsequent trauma led to what I believe is scarring on the optic nerves. However," he paused, choosing his words carefully, "the eyes themselves are not destroyed. The structures are intact. There is a procedure, experimental, being developed by a surgeon I studied under in Boston. It involves relieving the pressure on the optic nerves, cleaning out the scar tissue, and hoping the nerves can regenerate enough to restore some level of vision. Some level? Wade asked hoarsely. I cannot promise full sight, Marcus said honestly. The best case is that you might regain partial vision, enough to see shapes and light and shadow. Maybe more. The worst case is that the procedure fails and you remain as you are now. But Wade, given how you have described your injury, given what I am feeling during the examination, I think there is a real chance. Maybe 40% odds of meaningful improvement. Wade's hand found Lily's and gripped it tightly. I am afraid, he admitted. I have learned to live without sight. I have built a life in darkness. If I try this and it fails, if I let myself hope and then lose that hope, then you will still have me, Lily said firmly. You will still have Samuel. You will still have the valley and the life we have built. This does not change any of that, Wade. But if there is even a chance you could see our son's face, could see the mountains you love, could see me. Her voice caught. Do you not think it is worth trying? Wade turned his blind eyes toward her voice. I can see you, he said softly. Maybe not with my eyes, but I see you, Lily. I see your strength and your courage and your beauty. I see who you are, and that has nothing to do with light and shadow. I know, Lily said, tears streaming down her face, but I want you to see me with your eyes, too. I want you to see your son grow up. I want you to witness sunsets again. I want to give you back something you lost. Let Marcus try, please. In the end, Wade agreed, though Lily could feel his fear. The procedure would take place in Pine Flat over the course of several days, with Marcus performing the delicate surgery, and then a long recovery period to see if the nerves would heal. There were risks, infection, and further damage being the primary concerns. But Marcus was confident he could manage those risks, and the potential reward was too great to ignore. They spent a week preparing, letting Wade rest and build his strength. Marcus taught Lily exactly how to care for the bandages and watch for signs of infection. Samuel Tucker helped them file a formal claim on the MacDonald Valley, ensuring they had legal right to the land they had made their home. The people of Pine Flat, learning their story, responded with kindness and support that made Lily weep with gratitude. The surgery took place on a cool morning in late May. Marcus worked for 3 hours with Wade under sedation, carefully relieving pressure, removing scar tissue, doing everything modern medicine knew to give damaged nerves a chance to recover. When it was done, Wade's eyes were bandaged completely and the waiting began. 2 weeks, Marcus said. We wait 2 weeks with the bandages in place, giving everything time to heal. Then we remove them and see what we see. I do not want to give false hope, Lily. But I do think there is a real chance. Those 2 weeks were the longest of Lily's life. Wade was patient through the pain and discomfort, never complaining, but she could feel his tension, the fear he tried to hide. She stayed by his side constantly, describing the world outside the window, letting him hold Samuel, reading to him from newspapers and books. She talked until her voice was hoarse, filling the darkness with words because that was all she could give him. The morning the bandages came off, the entire town seemed to hold its breath. Marcus worked slowly, carefully removing the wrappings while Wade sat absolutely still. Lily held his hand, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break her ribs. Keep your eyes closed, Marcus instructed as the last bandage came away. We will start with very dim light and work up slowly. I am going to light a single candle and step back. Wade, open your eyes slowly. Tell me what you see. Wade's eyelids flickered, opened. And Lily watched her husband's face transform with an emotion so powerful it defied description. Light, Wade whispered, his voice shaking. "Marcus, I see light. It is dim and blurry, but I see it. I see the candle flame, I see shadows. It is all soft and unclear, but I see something." Lily pressed her hand to her mouth, muffling a sob. Marcus smiled, satisfaction evident in his expression. "That is an excellent start. Vision should continue to improve over the next few weeks as the nerves finish healing. You may never have perfect sight again, Wade. But I think you will have functional vision. Enough to see the world, enough to see your family." Over the next month, Wade's vision slowly improved. It started with vague shapes and light, progressed to recognizing objects and faces in good light. Colors emerged, first muted then vibrant. Details sharpened. Marcus monitored the progress carefully, adjusting treatments, always cautious about promising too much. But by the end of June, Wade could navigate without his walking stick in daylight. He could read large print if it was well lit. He could see across a room clearly enough to identify people. And on a bright morning in early July, Wade stood in the street of Pine Flat and looked at his wife properly for the first time. Lily stood nervous and uncertain, suddenly self-conscious in a way she had never been when he was blind. "What do you see?" she asked softly. Wade stared at her, his storm-gray eyes moving across her face with hungry intensity. "I see the woman I fell in love with in darkness," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I see green eyes. I see brown hair with gold in the sunlight. I see a face that is more beautiful than anything I imagined. I see strength in your jaw and kindness in your smile, and everything that I knew by touch and voice, I see now with my eyes. And Lily, you are magnificent." He crossed to her and took her face in his hands, studying every detail. Then he kissed her with a tenderness that made her knees weak. When they parted, both were crying. "Now show me our son," Wade said. Lily brought Samuel, and Wade looked at his boy properly for the first time. He saw the dark hair they had described, the gray eyes that matched his own, the chubby cheeks and curious expression. He saw his son smile at him, reach for him with small hands, and Wade broke down completely, pulling both Lily and Samuel into his arms and holding them like they might disappear if he let go. The vision was not perfect. Wade still struggled in dim light and could not read small print. His depth perception was poor and likely always would be. But he could see well enough to live, to work, to appreciate the world and the family he had been given back. It was, Marcus assured them, far better than anyone had dared hope. They stayed in Pine Flat through the summer, helping Wade adjust to seeing again, reconnecting with Lily's uncle, becoming part of the community. Marcus and Lily spent hours together, rebuilding their relationship, sharing memories of the family they had both lost. He grieved properly for his brother when he heard the full story of the outlaw attack and raged at the injustice of good people killed by evil men. "What happened to them?" Marcus asked. "The outlaws who killed your family," Lily glanced at Wade. "We do not know. They hunted us into the mountains, but we lost them in the high country. They might have given up. They might have died up there. I used to dream about revenge, about seeing them hang for what they did. But now—" She looked at Samuel playing on the floor. "Now I realize they do not matter anymore. They took my family, but they did not destroy me. I survived. I found love. I built a new life. The best revenge is living well despite what they did." Wade nodded his agreement. "The man I was when I sat in that cave waiting to die would have wanted blood, but that man is gone. The person I am now, the person Lily helped me become, wants only to protect what we have built. The past is past. We focus on the future." As summer turned toward autumn, they prepared to return to their valley. Marcus had taught Lily basic medical skills and gave them a kit of supplies to take with them. The Tuckers had helped them stock up on goods that would make mountain life easier. And most importantly, Wade could now see to help with the work, to truly appreciate the home they had built together. They said their goodbyes in late September, with promises to return the following spring, with plans for Marcus to visit the valley when weather permitted. The journey back took 5 days, with Samuel toddling alongside them for short stretches, and every step of the way, Wade marveled at what he could see. "The mountains," he breathed as they climbed into the high country. "Lily, I remember them, but seeing them again is like seeing them for the first time. The way the peaks catch the light, the different shades of green in the trees, the blue of the sky, it is overwhelming." "I know," Lily said, squeezing his hand. "Welcome back to the world of light, my love." When they crested the final ridge and looked down into their valley, Wade stopped in his tracks. Lily watched his face as he took it in properly for the first time, the green meadow, the crystal stream, the cabin they had built together. "It is perfect," he said simply. "It is home." They settled back into valley life, but everything was different now that Wade could see. He could help with tasks that had been impossible before. He could appreciate Lily's face as she worked. Most importantly, he could watch his son grow and develop, could see Samuel's first steps, his first attempts at words, his joy at discovering the world. The years that followed were good ones. Hard, as mountain life always was, but filled with love and purpose. They added a room to the cabin the second year, then another the third. Wade trapped in winter, trading pelts in Pine Flat for supplies they could not make themselves. Lily tended a garden and perfected her skills with medicinal herbs, becoming known in the area for her healing knowledge. Samuel grew into a strong, curious boy, learning from both his parents. Wade taught him to hunt and track and survive in the wilderness. Lily taught him to read and write, using the books Marcus sent up from Pine Flat. The boy was equally comfortable with rifle or book, equally at home in the wild or in town. 2 years after Samuel was born, Lily gave birth to a daughter they named Rose, for the wild roses that grew along the stream. Rose had her mother's green eyes and quick mind, her father's strength and determination. Wade delivered his daughter himself, guided by the medical knowledge Lily had learned from Marcus, and when he held her for the first time and could actually see her tiny, perfect face, he wept with joy. Their family grew to 4 children in total. After Rose came another boy, Jacob, strong and serious like his father. Then finally, a second daughter, Grace, who arrived during a spring thunderstorm much like her brother's birth, with a spirit as fierce as the weather that welcomed her. Life in the valley was everything they had dreamed and more. They were self-sufficient, living off the land they had claimed, raising their children with values of strength and kindness and resilience. The past, with all its pain and loss, became something they carried but no longer defined them. They had created something new, something beautiful from the ashes of their old lives. Marcus visited regularly, hiking up to the valley each summer, marveling at his growing family. He brought books and news and medical supplies. He checked Wade's eyes and pronounced them stable, the vision holding steady year after year. He dandled his grandnieces and grandnephews on his knee and told them stories of their mother as a girl. Samuel Tucker and his wife became regular visitors too, along with other families from Pine Flat. The isolated valley became a gathering place during the summer months, with people making the trek up to trade and socialize and escape the heat of the lower elevations. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Wade and Lily stood by the stream where they had pledged their vows with woven willow rings. The children were with Marcus in Pine Flat for the week, giving their parents rare time alone. "I have been thinking about the day we met," Wade said, his arm around Lily's waist. "About that cave, about the desperation that brought us both to that place. about how certain I was that my life was over. Mine too, Lily agreed. I ran into those mountains expecting to die. I had given up on everything except survival, and even that did not seem worth fighting for. And now look at us, Wade said, gesturing to the cabin, the garden, the valley spread before them. 4 children, a home, a life that exceeds anything I imagined even before I was injured. You saved me, Lily. You became my eyes when I had none, and you gave me reasons to see again. You saved me too, Lily said. You became my shelter when I had nowhere to turn. You showed me that broken things can heal, that love can grow even in darkness. We saved each other, Wade. They kissed as the sun set over the mountains, painting the sky in the colors Wade had thought he would never see again. Around them, their valley bloomed with life they had cultivated. Their children would grow strong here, would carry forward the lessons their parents had learned through hardship and loss. The legacy of that day in the cave, of 2 desperate souls finding each other in darkness, would echo through generations. Years continued to pass. Samuel grew into a young man, strong and capable, eventually meeting a girl in Pine Flat and bringing her to the valley as his bride. Rose, fierce and independent, chose to study medicine with her great-uncle Marcus, becoming his apprentice and eventually taking over his practice. Jacob took naturally to ranching, expanding their land and livestock. Grace, the youngest, inherited her mother's artistic eye and began painting the mountain landscapes that surrounded them. Wade and Lily grew older together, their hair turning gray, their hands marked with the scars of hard work and good lives. Wade's vision remained stable, never perfect but good enough. He could still hunt, still work, still read to his grandchildren by lamplight. Most importantly, he could still see Lily's face each morning, could watch the play of light on the mountains, could witness the legacy they had built. On a bright summer morning in their 30th year together, Lily found Wade sitting by the stream, in the exact spot where they had been married with willow rings. She was 63 now, he was 58, and their bodies showed the marks of lives fully lived. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, settling beside him with a slight groan. "About how lucky I am," Wade said simply. "About how that day you stumbled into my cave you did not just save my life. You gave me a life worth saving. Every day with you has been a gift, Lily. Every single day, even the hard ones." Lily asked with a smile. "The winters we nearly ran out of food. The time Samuel broke his arm, when Grace was sick with fever and we thought we might lose her, especially those days," Wade said, "because we faced them together. Because you were beside me, and I was beside you, and we proved over and over that nothing can break us as long as we have each other." Lily leaned against his shoulder, fitting into the space she had occupied for 3 decades. "I would do it all again," she said quietly. "Every step, every struggle, every moment, because all of it led here, to this valley, to this family, to you." They sat together in the morning sun, 2 people who had found each other in darkness and had spent their lives being each other's light. The mountain man who had not seen daylight in months had found his eyes. The girl running for her life had found her shelter. And together, they had built something that would outlast them both, a legacy of love and strength and unwavering devotion. Their children and grandchildren would remember them as the founders of a family, as strong people who had carved a life from wilderness and loss. But Wade and Lily knew the truth was simpler and more profound. They had simply been 2 broken souls who had refused to give up, who had chosen love over despair, hope over darkness, and each other over loneliness. That choice, made in a cave during a desperate flight, had led to everything else. It had led to life. As the sun climbed higher over the mountains, Wade turned to Lily and smiled. seeing her as clearly as he had that first day when the bandages came off, seeing past the gray hair and lined face to the fierce, beautiful soul beneath. Lily smiled back, seeing her husband in all his scarred, strong, gentle glory. They did not need words. They had told their love story over 30 years in 1,000 different ways, and it had always said the same thing: I see you. I shelter you. I choose you, now and always. And in their hidden valley high in the Sierra Nevada mountains, that was enough. That was everything.